Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to another video. I have been busy beating my stationery addiction at Walmart, and they had some new stuff I tried to avoid, but I have failed. And I thought we could go through it together and see if there's anything here that is fountain pen friendly. They had quite a few new items, and we will go through them all one by one, test them out with at least 2 different pens, maybe 3. We'll see what I can pull out of my inked pen stash and see if any of these are worth the buy. Let's get into it. These are the pens I'll be using to test out the notebooks: a TWSBI Diamond 580, a Benu Euphoria, and an Asvine P20. Okay, first up is a cute little pocket-sized notebook. This notebook is made in Vietnam. It has 80 pages, and I will just write in the back of all these books to test them out. I don't know, my first, reflex is to go to the front, like so many of us. You start at the beginning. But yeah, I will be writing in the back of the books. And first testing with the Asvine P20. This pen has an extra fine nib and is inked with Birmingham Pen Co. Copperhead. The Benu Euphoria-Hot Toddy has a medium Schmidt nib. It's nice and wet and is inked with Venta La Paz. And the TWSBI Diamond 580 ALR has a medium nib and is inked with Diamond Glacier. Right? Yeah, Glacier. And here we are close up on the samples, and they look good. There's slight shadowing, but no bleed through. So that looks like a win so far. Get to see some shading in that ink too. I like that. Next is a set of 2 composition books. These notebooks have 80 pages. They are made in India. And yeah, let's see how these do. I love this Benu. I love writing with this. Oh, I love the way the ink shades. What an experience. The extra fine nib is not my usual, so we're getting to know each other. And TWSBIs are always a good time for me. A medium TWSBI is like my go-to, and they handle shimmer very well. The TWSBIs do. So yeah, good times. And let's get closer. This looks good as well. You can see some shading in the ink. And I'll get closer up at the end too, but there is some ghosting, and where I got a little heavy-handed, there's a tiny bit of bleed through, so not as big a win. Next is this cute craft colored notebook. I like the size of it. It is A5 size. I think it said that on the cover, but it's A5. And let's head to the back and start with the extra fine nib. Copperhead is kind of dry in this pen. I don't know if it's the ink specifically, because I don't use extra fines all the time, or if it's just a combination, but it's kind of on the dry side and on all the papers. I love the Benu Euphoria. I love the nib. I love the whole experience. The ink is great. And the TWSBI, like I say, Diamond 580 with a medium nib Shimmer ink. TWSBIs are always a good time for me. I love TWSBIs. And let's get closer. This looks good too. There is some shading. We will get closer at the end. There is a little bit of ghosting, but no bleed through. So I would say this is a winner. Very nice. Next is this coiled journal / notebook. It's just lined. There aren't any dates or anything like that inside, so you can use it however you want. The journal is made in Vietnam. The paper's on the yellower side, and it's not a standard US or European size. 6.5 by 8.7 inches. I don't know what that is. It's just a notebook. Anyway, yeah, the Asvine with that Birmingham Penco ink is just a bit on the dry side. The Benu is nice and wet. I love it. This is a great combination. It's currently inked and I love it. And the TWSBI, it's just good. No complaints. Man, I love a TWSBI. Let's get closer. These all look good. They went down nicely. Nothing felt weird. But the back side is important. And that is a little disappointing for me. There is some ghosting. I did not have a problem with bleed through, but there's definitely ghosting. And I hope there wouldn't be so much, but I don't know. For what it is, it's not bad. Next is the 3-pack of National Park journals. The paper is 6 by 8.5 inches. It is just basic lined paper featuring 3 national parks. Really cute. Yosemite, Yellowstone, and Acadia. And yeah, let's get into this. The notebooks are really nice. I like them. They're really cute. Cute is so important, right? Let's get to the back and get down to business. The Asvine first, and again, it's good, but it's a little dry. Is that just an extra fine thing? I don't know. We'll find out. I'll try a different ink eventually. The Benu is great. Medium nib. Oh, I love it. I love the color. I'm so boring. But I just love this combination. Oh, yeah. Definitely a top combination for the month. And the TWSBI, also currently inked this month, November. And it's also doing a good job on this paper. Feels nice. These are nice notebooks. The covers are heavy cardstock. I like them. And it looks good. I don't see any feathering. We'll get closer at the end. There is a little bit of ghosting, not very much. It's a lot more visible on camera than it is to my eye, but I do wear glasses. And yeah, I like this combination. Oh, now the big notebook. This is the book that first caught my eye. It has gold edges. It's just basic lined. It is perforated, I believe. Yes, the pages are perforated. And then there's another notebook, which they're probably sisters, but not twins. And the pages are also lined. And are they perforated? Yes. But there's no gold edging. So it's just, more vanilla. So off we go. I love this notebook. And again, the Birmingham Penco ink coming out of this nib is a bit on the dry side. The Benu with the Venta La Paz ink feels good. Nicely wet, but not too wet. And the TWSBI Diamond 580 with the medium nib with Diamond Glacier. Also, it feels good, not too wet. None of these feel too wet. There's definitely a different feel than what you would have on, say, Hobonichi paper. Definitely does not feel like that. That definitely glides more. This feels like quote unquote regular paper, but I'm not so worried about that as I am, but does it feather horribly and does it bleed through? And yeah, look at that. Heavy ghosting. And it bled through very slightly where I was heavy-handed and laid down extra ink. But it's not awful. It's not awful, but it's not ideal. And now let's try the other book. I like them. I like them. They look nice. Any reason to write down stuff in a pretty notebook. I have more notebooks than I will ever use up unless I make it my life's work to fill them. Anyway, that sounds so silly, but I love notebooks. I have always loved them. This, again, feels on the dry side, but there's no problem with the writing. The Benu feels more wet, but I don't see any feathering as I go. And yes, I love this ink. Oh my goodness, it's so pretty. And the TWSBI with Glacier, it looks so pretty in the pen. I really matched that one nicely. I never thought I'd like this ink, but I like how it looks in the pen. And so far, I've enjoyed writing with it. It has not been a problem with the shimmer. And yeah, it looks pretty decent on this paper, which is not necessarily quote-unquote fountain pen paper, but it shows up pretty nicely. I like it. And there is, again, some heavy ghosting. Alrighty. Let's kind of recap where we got. Here is the first notebook. Cute little journal, 80 pages. All the notebooks are made in Vietnam. I will double check as we go back through. But this one, and oh man, I wish I had, hold on just a second. That's better. Binder clip to hold the page open. Now, I mention every now and then, I do not have the best vision. It sure is not 2020, never was. So I am using a spare phone to zoom in, like magnify the writing and just see if I see any feathering. And y'all can zoom in on the screen if you've got a mobile device. The shading looks pretty good on this paper. I don't see any feathering. The shimmer ink went down pretty nicely. I'm surprised to see shading. I don't know. My expectations were not. I didn't expect anything at all, except to just see how this turns out. And it looks pretty good. This is not bad. And then there is very faint shadowing, but you can use both sides, at least with the pens that I've used today, and not have a problem. So that was that one. On to the next is this tiny composition book that has perforated pages, I think. Did I save that? Yes, I did. Yes, micro perforated sheets. And this is made in India. And let's take another look at this. Hold this down. Oh, it doesn't want to stay down. Man, struggle bus. Can y'all see this? Okay, looks good. Get my magnifier out. Let's take a closer look. Again, the shading looked better on the first notebook, but there isn't any feathering, which is good. The shimmer ink looks good, nice and crisp. And I found in all of the writing, and I don't usually use extra fine nibs, but the Copperhead ink was a bit on the dry side. And yeah, it does shade nicely over there in the heart. So that was not a problem at all. There's just a little bit of ghosting where I laid down the ink extra hard and then it even went on to the next page. So if you don't plan to draw in here, this could be an option. Next book is this cute craft covered book. I like this one. The sheets, the last 13 sheets are detachable. They're perforated. It says the paper is heavyweight. As fountain pen friendly paper goes, it is heavy, relatively speaking, kind of comparable to Rhodia. I've got some Rhodia here. Yeah, my highly technical sensory feedback is the paper has more texture than Rhodia. Rhodia is nice and smooth, but the weight is about the same as Rhodia, to give you an idea. And let's look at the writing sample. Hold the page down. Yeah, I am the queen of improv over here. All right, now let's see how this looks. Oh, again, we have nice shading. The heart and the Copperhead looks pretty good. I do have shading with the Venta ink, which I love that ink. It's so pretty. The H in Hot Toddy has shading. I love the shading. It just gets me excited. And the shimmer ink is nice and crisp. I don't have any feathering on any of these. It looked good. And of course there isn't any, well, I say of course, at least in my mind there shouldn't be with an extra fine nib, and I'm not disappointed. So these all look pretty good. And on the back again, just minor ghosting where I was heavy-handed with the heart. And this paper again, made in India for Walmart. Next book. These are kind of cool. They're 3 journals with travel themes: Yosemite, Acadia, and Yellowstone National Parks. And I use the Acadia. These pages, to go back again, these are journals, so the pages are not detachable. And the paper is made in India. I was decapitating myself on it. All right, and let's just hold this down. And take another look. Y'all are in the frame. And let's see. Copperhead looks good. You can see some of the shading in the heart. Hot Toddy, same thing. Oh, evidently I am light on the beginning of my strokes and heavy as I go down. Same with the crossbar on the T and Toddy. I love the way this ink shades. Totally one of my favorites. I think I need a bottle of this Venta ink. It's so pretty. It's like a mustardy golden greenish yellow. I don't know. It's really, really pretty. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. There's no feathering, which, yay, I like that. And then the shimmer ink looks good also, coming out of the medium nib of the TWSBI. Looks really good. It's nice and crisp. I don't know. In my head, it's kind of like the shimmer is the glue that's holding the ink together. But it looks good. And let's take one more look at the back side, which is very minor ghosting when I made that heavy-handed heart. This looks good too, and these are the National Park journals. Next is the coiled journal with a nice hard cover. I like the way this feels. And the paper is definitely on the yellow side of life. All the others so far have been white paper. This is yellow, and the last two books are a lighter shade of cream. This looks toward yellow to me. And let's see where the paper was made. Vietnam. I like these kinds of notebooks because they fold back. So handy. All right, let's take a look. Here in the frame, I've got my zoom going. Copperhead looks good. The shading is not as distinct on this paper. There is slight feathering over here where I got heavy-handed writing. Yes, slightly. It's definitely, the ink is definitely wetter on this paper. And the shimmer ink looks good. It's looked good on everything. But the Benu wrote the wettest, I would say, and the entire writing sample didn't feather, just in spots. There is some light feathering, and if feathering just burns your biscuits, this may not be for you. If you use a medium nib, a medium wet nib with a good flowing ink, that ink may have an average flow. I am not sure off the top of my head what the product listing said, but it flows nice and wet from that Schmidt nib. Now let's get on to the last two books. The foiled notebook. This is what caught my eye at first, and I walked away. I should have kept walking, but I can't do that. I can't leave a pretty looking notebook alone. I gotta go for it. All right, how am I gonna hold this open? I'll grab a candle. Hold it back there so it stays up, and y'all are in the frame. And let's take a closer look at this. The first sample looks good. It is, the shading, it's not bad. Of course, I'm not a machine and everything I draw isn't precisely the same, but there is some shading. The Venta ink coming out of the Benu Euphoria looks good. There is very, very minor feathering. I had to zoom way in to see it, but I don't know. If you've got just average eyesight, meaning maybe you could use reading glasses, maybe not, or you wear glasses all the time, you may not see that. If you got those eagle eyes, you may see it, but it's very minor. And again, the shimmer ink looks amazing. I love the way that looks. It's like it's almost raised, and you can like feel like you can touch it and feel the texture. It just looks so good under, magnification. Kind of gets me excited. And so that's that. And I expect this other book to be the same because they're basically the same book, but just one has gold edges and the other does not. And these papers are also perforated. And I'll just go back over where the book is made. Yeah, the shading, yeah, it's kind of cute. I like how that looks. Looks kind of peachy. Peachy. Yeah, peachy. I don't have words. I like Copperhead, but I'm not in love with it. But if I gave it away, I would miss it. So that's why I keep that ink. So yeah, it's like, I don't love it, but I like it. And if it weren't in my life, I would miss it. So yeah, it looks good. I don't see any feathering with the fine nib. The Schmidt nib on the Benu, just very, very minor feathering, but it's not throughout the writing sample. It's just here and there where the ink went down extra wet. And it does shade pretty decently, which is cool. It's not overly prominent, but it's slightly there. It's a little bit, just enough to not bore you out of your gourd. And of course, the shimmer ink looks lovely, and it is evenly distributed throughout, but every time I picked up the pen, I did give it some agitation. So yeah. All right, now let's see again where these were made. This notebook is made in Vietnam. Sorry, I'm shaking you up. And I believe this one is the same. Yeah, I like the foil inside. That's very nice. I have to say there were some other books that I liked aesthetically, but the paper, the notebooks are made in China, and I have not really had good luck with that consistently enough to get it, because I mostly write with fountain pens, and I don't see any point in buying something that's probably not going to work. But these were all pretty good options. I will link down in the description what I can, and hopefully this helps you out, because none of these books were very expensive, which is good, especially these. I think these are pretty cheap, maybe $1, not much more. This, same thing. Nothing was expensive. Where is my receipt? My receipt. Here it is. All right. I just got it off to the side. And what I paid at my local store, and I'm sure prices probably vary somewhat. The most expensive was $6.47. I have to go through and match things up, and we're not going to do that right now because that's just too much. But I will link what I can, so that way you can just see for yourself. And thank you for checking out another video. Hopefully I showed you something that was useful or helpful. Let me know down in the comments what your experience has been with notebooks at Walmart or anywhere else that don't cost an arm and a leg and a foot, because I just like to write, just like you. Take care, y'all. Have a good one.